Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. And today I'm up with a request. Quite a few of you actually requested this, and that is the oxide inks that I received from Panalisa and comparing them with the big name brand. So I was sent 6 colours. I am being sent 6 more, but I'm using those 6 colours today, and we're going to test them with water, and we're also going to blend them and look for lightness in colour shade. I have the feeling that the colours are different, and of course if you've already got oxide inks, getting different colour oxides is even nicer. So first up from Panalisa we have Broken China, and then Branded, which is this one, and we have a Broken China. You can see there's kind of slight colour differences there already, and glaringly so in the Bundled Sage. You can see that lid is very pale. And then we have Abandoned Coral. These may not all fit in, and I am trying my best. So here is Abandoned Coral, and I'm actually going to stack those one on top of each other and move them now that I've shown you, so I can fit my other stuff in. And the next up is Squeezed Lemonade. As you can see, that's looking more orangey there on the lid, and then you've got Squeezed Lemonade here. But for an example, I'll just quickly take the lid off there. That is Squeezed Lemonade when you take the lid off, and that is Squeezed Lemonade when you take the lid off. So you can see that there is 3 or 4 shade difference kind of thing. But I'll quickly put the lid on that one. So we've got Squeezed Lemonade. We've got the one that I dislike the most. I like this. This is Weathered Wood. But this is the one that I don't like, because as you can see, I'll lift the lid off. I don't know what is going on with that, but it's been like it since I had it. Can you see all the leakage? Every time I use it, and it is a lovely colour, it just makes a mess everywhere and all over my hands. So, you know, as I said, I just don't know what was going on with that. And then next up we have Spiced Marmalade, and we also have the Branded Spiced Marmalade. Now, I'd already made an Easter card using those shades last week, so I've already got those stacked up in a tube, and these are Panalisas. And then to make sure there was no contamination or confusion, I'm using brand new pads for the Branded oxides, and they are not in a tube, so I can't pick those up again and get all confused about it. I've also got 2 blendy tools that I've got on my desk. I will put all links to everything below. I like to use a stamp block. This one's from Alina Craft for watercolor blending. When I'm using a pad, I just squish my pad on and I use a water brush. So I've got that. And then the substrates that we're going to use are Walmart's watercolor cardstock, which I absolutely love, and I've got 2 pieces of that. It's like $10.99 for 50 huge sheets, and it's just excellent quality. It's 300 GSM as well, so it's really thick. And I'm also using 2 sheets of my I can't remember the name of it now, Ancient Archival or something. It's a cheap cardstock from Amazon, and if I find it I will link that below. But it's great for doing card bases, stamping, blending, and that's what we're going to use it for. So 2 different substrates. Right, I'm just going to pause a second while we organise the inks, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've moved my inks out of the way. I also got my squirty bottle. This is from Walmart, and it's just a couple of dollars, and I've had it for years, and I will use that for tidying up my mess as I go along. And also I've got some kitchen paper. Right, so first up, let's do watercolouring, and I've got my watercolour cardstock, and I'm going to get a pen. Yeah, I've usually got a desk full of pens. Here we go. I've got a Sharpie. So let's divide this up so that you can see the the colour differences that we've got here. Right, that's my nice squiggly line down that paper. And first up, we're going to do the branded. And I think most people know what these colours look like. So I guess I need to put branded over here. So let's go branded. I'll just put P for Panalisa. There we go. Right, spice marmalade. I've just stacked them up in the same order so I don't get confused. And there you can see I've pushed just a little bit of ink. I'm not priming it, so it's going to go down as it goes down. I'm squidging that around on my block, and we're going to get down the spiced marmalade. Pull that out along there so we can see the colour. And you can see that. That's lovely. There's absolutely no complaints from me about these colours at all. So I'm now cleaning my block, getting all that pigment off it. And we're going to go in with the Panalisa spiced marmalade. So already I can see that there is a colour difference here. And I'm just squeezing out my brush so that there's none of the branded left. I'm just putting a drop of water down again. I'm going to mix that up. Now this one for me is more of a true orange. So you can see already there is a benefit here because it's a totally different colour. I'm going to pick it up so that you can see it. So I'm just cleaning off my brush again before I forget. So let's look at those two. See that? They're both complementary and they're both totally different. Now I've got to clean my block again. I should have picked up, I think, a bit more kitchen paper. But I'm going to put a little bit of water onto my block. Just clean that off. And I hope I'm not all blurred. Right, so that was our spice marmalades. And next up is the one I don't like. So I'm going to quickly squidge it because it's all leaky everywhere. There we go. And that is weathered wood. And this one is the branded. And once again, a drop of water. Swirling all that colour up onto my brush. And I'm going to go down. And then I'm going to go across. So just running the shade out there. And that's it at its darkest. So that is weathered wood. Now I must admit that I do really like the Panalisa weathered wood. It's got more tones in it of brown. Right, that's cleaned up. And now let's go to Panalisa and pop that one down. And both pads are juicy. Right, clean my brush out. It might be that I have to go over to my squirty bottle to just put a drop down. That's it. I'm going to pick that colour up. I don't know if you can see that on the block, but it's a definite brown. So already you've got shade difference. That is a very distinct difference. Pull that out to there. So that one is definitely brown and that one is definitely grey. Oh, and also while I'm thinking about it, the ink pads from Panalisa fit the Spectrum Noir ink pad trays, which is what I use to store all my ink pads, and they stack up on top of each other, and you can fit a lot of brands into those trays actually. It's usually around now, I think, that they have sales on them. Right, so now we're going to Abandoned Coral, and that is the branded. Abandoned Coral is an absolutely gorgeous colour. I'm using my bottle again because I think I've squirted all of the water out of my brush. So let's swirl all that up. And let's look at that. Abandoned coral is that kind of like reddy peachy pink. It's the only way I can think of to describe it. So I'm going here, which is more the pure colour, and then we've kind of washed out to the edge. And this might be one of those that I have to pick up and show you in a second. So I've just cleaned my brush off, and now we're going to clean this off. Make sure I remove everything there. I've got a nice multicolour piece of tissue paper. There we go. And now we're going into Abandoned Coral from Panalisa. Use my brush again, get my bottle, give it a squirt. Scoop that colour up. And we'll go down here. And brush that one out. Now, one of the things that I actually noticed with this one is that there may be a little more pigment in this one, but a very similar colour. So if I skirt around the edges again, trying to find some of that purer colour. But both complementary again, one slightly paler. Can you see that? There's almost like hints of brown in that one. Moving them across. And to be honest, I prefer Panalisa's Weather Wood to the branded one, because it looks more wood to me, and as it dries it starts to get a grey tone to it, which to me is more like weathered wood, whereas this is kind of almost a bluey grey. Yeah, like not a warm grey. Yeah, that's what I'd say about that actually. If you were using markers, you'd say that was a warm grey. And that was on the cool spectrum. It's got the blues in it. So pad clean again. And we're going into the branded Bundled Sage. So down on the pad with that. I'll give it 2 squishes. My brush is clean, I hope. There we go. Got my brush clean. A little squirt of water again. And we're going to mix that up. Bundled Sage is a gorgeous colour. Really dreamy. And as you can see, that is nice and pale. Go here and try and put down a little bit more concentrated colour and wash that out and hold that up. Sometimes it can be quite difficult for me to kind of get true shades on camera, so you can see it's definitely sage, really pretty. Just going to wipe that off again. Clean my brush. Right, and now this one, which of course has a much darker lid than the branded and a much darker colour. So I stamped the other one down twice, so I'll do that twice. Try and use the same amount of water. Squidgy all that together. And we'll get that one down. So it's definitely a sage, but it's a much darker sage. So, you know, there's another pad that you know that you can buy with confidence, knowing you're getting an oxide, but it's a totally different colour. It's a totally different shade of sage. It's really pretty actually. Go into the more concentrated area there and put that down. So I really love that. Alright, just brushing out my brush again. Clean that mess up. Can you hear Bo? My little Bo, bless him. And next up is the Squeezed Lemonade. This is one of my favourite colours. It's one of those fun summer things. Obviously it can be used for lemons, but you can also use it like bananas and stuff, because I do like making fruity projects. So I've got a little bit of water down there, going in with the brush and swirl that around. And we have Squeezed Lemonade. And it actually does look like lemonade. It's that very sort of like acid yellow. Yeah, it's kind of got, you can't really see it on camera, but when you kind of hold it off to an angle, there's almost a fluorescent kind of like lime on the surface of that. And I don't know whether I can capture it. Probably not. But that is Squeezed Lemonade. So we've got that one. And now I need to clean that again. And we're going in with Panalisas. So 2 squidges down. And I think this one might be slightly more orangey than the branded. Which, as I say, is great because, you know, I might have just put too much water down on there as well. I'll try and stick with this bit and put that in there. I think this is a really lovely colour. But those two shades complement each other again. It's a slightly darker, richer lemonade. More like a marigold. That's how I describe that one. So I've got a grey shadow going over it at the moment in the sky, which is darkening things up a bit. But let's wipe this off. And the last one, of course, is the broken china. So I don't want to have any yellow on here, otherwise I'm going to end up with green. So I'm now going to use a clean piece of kitchen paper and get that up. So that's nice and clean. I'm cleaning up my brush to make sure there's no yellow in it. Just scooting it around and around here. Right, let's check this out. Broken china, I think, is one of the most popular colours in the ink line. It's a very happy blue. Right, I need my bottle. There we go. Drops of water. Squidgy that around. That's all fully blended. Move that up a bit. And it is that really vintage, delicate. So I might have picked up a bit of paper fibre on my brush, which is looking a bit messy. But when you think about painting, you know, vintage cups and saucers and tea sets, you really do think about broken china. So that is broken china, and I'm just pulling off my fibres because they're not part of that ink. Cleaning out my brush. Clean that up. And now we go with Panalisa's broken china. Oh, got lots of colour that went down there. They are very juicy pads. I'm going to turn that way around. Get all that mixed in, because I did put down quite a little bit of water there. And you can see this is a much darker colour. You can see that already. It's very vivid. It's almost like, I would say, Mermaid Lagoon. So it's very vibrant, but still complementary to that one. So if I clean myself up, we can do some blending. So I'm going to clean this and get that out of the way. And then let's have a close-up of this. So there's the colours that we've done so far. If you can see that, it starts to run to grey on the edges. The abandoned coral, the bundled sage, the lemonade. See, very complementary. I mean, if you were colouring in sunflowers or something, you could totally go from one to the other. But very vibrant on the broken china, but two complementary shades again. So if you got them, you didn't, you wouldn't have to think, oh, I'm going to end up with the same colours. No, you're not at all. But next, I'm cleaning out my brush, because if I put this back with blue on it and stick it into something else, that won't be much good. Right, so regular cardstock and Panalisa. Now, we already know that Distress Oxides blend, so I don't need to do those, and I hope you can hear me. So I'm going with 6 shades of Panalisa. So let's see how these blend. I'm on my silicone mat, which is a surface that I would normally use for blending, because it's nice and slick and you can, just come in off the edge. I was going to blend the oxides, but I just think there's no point, because everybody knows that they blend, otherwise they wouldn't buy them. So here goes. Right, I can move those blank pads that I'd sorted out for myself and get the Panalisa tube out. Now, obviously we don't want to make mud, so I'm going to be cautious. Like, I'll go yellow. Yeah, I can go yellow, pink, and then keep those other colours over there, because then, that's a little bit more spicy, isn't it, sort of thing. I don't know if I just hit my camera. Anyway, I'm going lemonade first. And I already do have some on here, but I'm adding just a little bit more. Right, coming in off the edge. I'm just going to do the corner. You can kind of think like the colour that I'm trying to achieve here is sort of like an idea of raspberry lemonade. That's the best way to think about that. And you're going to get touches of peaches and oranges as you go in, one hopes. So, abandoned coral. So I'm putting this one straight back in the pot and going for abandoned coral, which is this one. I'm going to get that out. And then we're going to go into here. So I'm just swirling that in. And once again, I'm coming off paper. And you can absolutely see that that does blend in. So you're going peaches into lemons. I'm going to tap that off. I actually splashed my ink pads when I put the lid on, sorry. But you can see that's a really lovely soft blend. So they do blend rather nicely. Now I'm going to go into the weathered wood and go underneath that and see what happens. So I'm just peeling this one off. And I've got my weathered wood. You'll have to excuse those little splashes. Right, I'm just inking that up. And I'm going to come in off the abandoned coral. Look at how juicy that is. I'm just going to go all around there in an arc, so we're fading. Now, I will tell you that this paper that I get from Amazon has a grain in it. So it does actually pick up the grain, which isn't a problem for me, but some people might not like it. But can you see that? You get a speckled grain, almost like there's snow coming out of the sky. But you can go up into your other colours. So there's 3 shades that we've done and pulled those other colours down. And as I say, you know, they blend absolutely beautifully. I'm using my dirty tissue, which is wet, to get some of that ink up. So that's 3 colours. And then let's add broken china and then a splash of water just to see what we're getting. So we know that this is much, much darker than broken china. The branded version anyway. And I'm going to come in off the edge here. But you can see just how juicy these are. I'm going to go rolling over the hill there. I'm going to blend it into that weathered wood so that we can see what colour that creates. And then we're fading out. So that's what you're getting there. See how it makes lovely clouds? It really does make lovely clouds. But I mean, there's a little bit on the mat here, but just, you know, messing around, you can just really gently go where you want to create cloudy effects. And I know that I'm working upside down, but you know what I mean. You can get your clouds in your sky. And you can clean it out even more. You do tend to skip if your foam pad gets a bit dry, and you can see that there. So that's what happens when your pad is drying out on you. Or shall I say your blending foam. But you can see that you can create a great sky with that colour, really soft and subdued. But there's your weathered wood with blue going into it, and you can see that it's definitely more brown, but as it butts up against the yellow you can kind of see the grey in it, and as it hits the abandoned coral. But they blend absolutely beautifully, and they stamp on top too. So I'm just going to get my squirty bottle. Now remember that this is quite a pulpy core cardstock, so splattering water and stuff on it is, you know, never brilliant, because it kind of tends to absorb straight into the pulp. Can you see that? I'll pick that up and show it you. It kind of blisters the paper, but you can clearly see that you can lift your ink. See? Probably better to use mixed media paper or watercolor paper when you're doing this. But I've splattered on there, and you can see that it does lift the ink. It creates that kind of corona around the edge of it, of colour, so that you've got that. but it is a cheaper cardstock. And then if I go into my watercolor that we did and spritz across both, make sure that there's plenty of water going on, and then we can have a look and see if there's any difference in the splashing of moisture. So I've got my little pad here and I'm going to lift. I hope that is all in camera. I'm just going to quickly go down this and show you the lift. Start off with the paler. And as you can see, there is absolutely no difference when watercolouring, lifting with water, washing it out. Different shades, like I said, so that you can buy them with confidence, knowing that even though they say the same colours, they're not identical colours. But just really lovely. I've got a little dot of water there. I'll take that up. There. Isn't that nice? Very ocean. Just really complimentary. Actually, when you put the water to this, it kind of comes up that almost a similar shade to that. I really like that. But as I was saying, you know, this is cheaper cardstock, and so if I get right in, you might be able to see how the paper blisters, and if I turn it over, you can see how the water just goes straight through. So maybe not the best cardstock for this demonstration. But anyway, I do highly recommend Panalisa's oxide inks, and they will complement the shades of what you've already got. And I thank you so much for watching me. As usual, all links below, and I will be up with KS Craft tomorrow. Bye.